Hey guys, Kyle Miller, Auto Mortgage Agent with Mortgage Brokers Ottawa, coming at you again with a new video, a new interview actually. And this time took it a little bit different because we're actually talking to one of my clients. He's also a business colleague of mine because he actually takes care of a lot of my marketing and whatnot. And one of the reasons how we actually got connected was because he was a client first, and then I became a client of his. He's got an interesting story and how our relationship developed, how we helped him get his mortgage done. And I think it speaks true to anybody who's in business for themselves, because you guys are unique. We are a unique little breed, and they treat us a little bit differently. So this is something that's, just it'll reiterate what I talk about all the time, because it's a true live person. It's not even fake. Like this is what we do. So really want to thank Alex Winch. He is the creative director and owner of Hometown Ottawa. And yeah, man, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Kyle. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to talk to you today.
So let's just dive into this. I mean, like I said, our team did your mortgage, great, but let's go back a little bit just to talk about, the business for self road that you took. So, like, how long have you been in business for yourself? What's the backstory with Alex and Hometown Ottawa, and how you got to where you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to bore you and our listeners with a little bit of a backstory here. I'm going to take it way back to high school, a place that I did pretty well at, but I didn't really want to be there. So I left at the chance to do a graphic design co-op at age 16. I did that for a year. And then I had another opportunity to start working as a co-op student at a skate shop. And that's when I kind of combined my love of skateboarding with my love of graphic design. I did that for a couple of years, and I was actually starting to create some of the graphics, for t-shirts, boards at the shop, which is called On Deck. It still exists. You can go definitely check them out, support them. Big shout out and thanks to Trevor Alguire for hooking me up.
They have been around for a long time. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I was in high school, and I'm a little bit older than you, and On Deck was like ooh-ah at that time. So it's pretty cool to hear that history though from an Ottawa standpoint. But anyways, sorry, I digress.
Yeah, for sure. So I was lucky that Trevor kind of let me take the creative helm a little bit and kind of explore that. I realized that I loved, creating graphics. I love the marketing side of the business. A couple of years past that, I was still working at On Deck, and I met another gentleman by the name of Scott Williams, who had a marketing company, and he was looking for somebody to do some design work. So I started working with him just on contract, and it was going super well, to the point where I had to get an HST number. So I had to become a sole proprietor. That just seemed like the path of least resistance at the time for me to be able to jump into this, to get contracts, do work, get paid, pay HST. I didn't really consider any other options at that point. It was just the easiest way to go about getting paid. So
sorry to interrupt. So if we back up for a sec, so you're working for, sorry, what was his name again?
Trevor at On Deck, and then started working for Scott Williams. His company called Ivero Marketing.
So you're working for Scott, and then and he says, and what made you switch to be like, okay, well now I got to go get an HST number all of a sudden?
So basically, the way he had his company structured was he didn't have any employees. So
gotcha.
He had a few people working for him who were all sole proprietor contractors. Right. So this is how the work was getting done for his company. And then about two or 3 years into working for Scott, he experienced a lot of growth, which is great. And I was learning a lot about the marketing side of business at the same time. So not only did I have the graphic design experience, but I was now pairing it with marketing for small to medium business experience as well. And realized that I really loved the combination of those two things and wanted to pursue it. So one day, essentially, Scott came to me and said, from a tax standpoint, my accountant is saying that my staff or contractors should be corporations. So
Right.
you guys need to go and get incorporated, because right now it looks like I'm just paying, my staff as contractors, which is not the case. You guys have other contracts that you pursue. It's not just me. So you guys should get incorporated. That was the push that I needed to do so to get incorporated. And then a couple more years passed. I decided to part ways with Scott and Alvaro. Scott's still a great friend. We talk, quite regularly. And I definitely want to thank Scott for, all the experience and support over those years. But it was time for me to go out on my own, basically start a new brand. So I already had a corporation number working with him. So now it was just a matter of creating like a forward-facing brand, right? So my business number didn't change. I still had the same business number working with him that I do now. All that changed was I'm now a different forward-facing company, so Hometown Ottawa, and I have my own clients. And yeah, so it's been about 5 years since then. We've experienced a lot of growth, and yeah, I mean, we couldn't be happier in this business. It's great.
Well, I think what's good too is I know some people might be listening to this saying like, no offense, but like, why are we talking about this guy's like work history and jumping from sole prop, HST, incorporated, whatever. And one of the things people don't realize is that makes a difference. It makes a difference in how you're taxed. It makes a difference in how your income's declared, or how you can declare your income. And also, it's a form of consistency, and switching from one way to another and back and all this stuff cannot help you, right? So listening to you say that and just seeing the transition is kind of just a flare out to anybody else saying, find your path, and just understand that when you change that path, it's not the end of the world. But from a mortgage standpoint, just purely mortgages, it can mess things up. Right? Like, knowing it or not, now hopefully people do know, but that would have affected your ability to buy at that point. So
right.
it's just an interesting switch that people don't think about, because they don't know, and why would they? So it's that's good history there. Now, what do you think of one of the first things you noticed, or not first things, but what did you notice the big difference being from, going from a sole proprietor to an incorporation, making that jump, whether it's paperwork, how much money, taxes, like what do you think struck you the most from changing that business structure?
I definitely realized that it was going to be a lot more accounting bills right off the bat. It became apparent very quickly that there was going to be a lot more paperwork that had to be done. A lot. I had to be more organized, more of a paper trail in a lot of ways. There's certain tasks that you have from the government that you as a corporation owner have to complete. So once a year, they take you through their like corporation registration system, where you have to say, yes, I'm still in business. You have to give like your filing date, so on and so forth. So that said, I also realized that there was a lot more flexibility. So, previously when I was a sole proprietor, basically whatever you bring in, that's your income, and it's taxed as personal income. So it's very straightforward. There's really no way around that. Now, when I got incorporated, I realized that I had a lot more flexibility as to how that was structured, how I was taxed, the amount of tax that was paid, et cetera. You can be incorporated and, pay yourself a salary. It's not usually going to be the same amount of money that's coming into the company. So that's a big difference between sole prop and incorporated. You can pay yourself in dividends. You can pay yourself hourly. You can hire other people. You can expense. So those are definitely some of the key differences.
I like to use the word manipulate in the most legal way possible. But you can manipulate. That's what it is. You can manipulate how things are looking, how things are taxed. Again, honestly, but it's not just money in, money out, right? There's different places to put it, different places to play with it, and that's which can be a huge advantage to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Now, where, like, how far along were you in the business when you came to me? Like you said, you're incorporated for 5 years, so you had developed some consistency there as well in terms of your accounting practices, paperwork, and all that stuff. Where were you at on, I don't know if you want to say your growth or just your path at that point?
Yeah, so when we first started chatting, it was around the start of the pandemic, I believe, and we experienced some growth as a result of the pandemic, just because you have a lot of small, medium businesses in town that had to pivot the way they sell their product or service. And when you have to pivot, a lot of the times that means marketing. So we were able to help a lot of businesses do that with marketing. And as a result, we were able to hire some additional help with our business as well. So we were definitely fortunate at that time to have some extra work. And yeah, I think that was around the time you and I started talking.
Now, and when we started talking, you weren't actually, I wasn't I don't say your first choice. You hadn't been introduced to me first. You had gone to a different organization. We'll call them one of the big 6 banks. Now, and I guess it's not to rub it in on them, but just so people understand, like, how did you end up getting brought over to me? Yeah, let's go down that road for a minute.
So I was working with another individual, I think for a few months maybe, and it seemed like everything was going well. And then I got an email one day that basically said something along the lines of, "Hey, we hit like, this small issue. It's going to create some problems for your application. I really didn't see it coming." And yeah, this person was basically like, "I don't really know what to say at this point. We've hit a roadblock." So that's when I was referred to you, and you were basically like, "Okay, we're going to clean slate this. We're going to go right back to square one. Here's everything that I need." And at that point, I kind of saw a key difference in that you were asking for a lot more paperwork up front than the other individual, which, as much as I thought I was an organized person before meeting you, I realized that I wasn't as much. So that was definitely a period of, as being in business, you're always a work in progress. It was definitely a period of discovery that I had to get things in better working order as far as my paperwork. But that was fine. We did that. We jumped through those hoops, and you were able to move me along as a result.
And I think, yeah, and when I remember too, one of the things that can happen, and this is a little bit of a quasi warning to people when they're out there. And I'm not saying don't shop around. I mean, I would like if you didn't, you called me and we just rock and roll, like, let's do this. But at the same point, I don't know if you're not going to look around. But one thing that happens is the fact that if too many people touch the file, it can actually cause problems, right? Mm-hmm. If it gets presented to a lender, the same lender. So, if 2 different brokers present the deal to the same lender, lots of times they cross over, and like the lender knows. So if I said one thing and the other guy says another, or the other person says another, and it doesn't jive, they'll just say no to both, right? Same thing if you have to go to like a default insurer like CMHC, right? CMHC sees the same deal twice from 2 different people, 2 different lenders, and it doesn't jive. They'll just can the deal, and it's your name that's on it. It's not mine. Yeah. I'm submitting for Alex. So if we had to change something, right? Alex now is just not going to be accepted by CMHC unless there's a fundamental difference of what we're presenting, right? Yeah. And I think that was a little bit part of the problem, is that it was wasn't presented properly. Nobody was doing anything malicious. It was just wasn't
Yeah.
presented properly, which then burned some options. And now here we are. Right.
Mhm.
So that's one thing too that people have got to realize is it's not don't shop around. It's just be careful how you do it.
Right.
Because if we're trying to, hit a home run and we only bunt, it may not work out in the end. And that's a big thing. People like if people go and read the blog post that we put up that accompanies this one, right? They'll see a big list of paperwork, and it seems like a lot, and I mean, it is a lot. Like, is that something that sticks out? Is that something that sticks out in your mind? Was just how much we had to go digging to prove the income and the revenues and just all that stuff? Or is there, or even to take that? I mean, you're going to say yes. So if we just push that ahead, what would you tell, up and coming, newly incorporated, or just business people in general about that process, or tips that you would have for them?
Yeah, so I think there was a little bit of sticker shock when you first sent me the list of items that I had to put together for you. But having gone through that process, I will say that it's hugely advantageous to take the time and collect all those documents and do it properly, because that's part of the reason, you were able to help with my deal, whereas someone else maybe wasn't, because they didn't have all the pieces in the puzzle, right? So and it's never really going to be as much work as you think it is. I know when I get a laundry list of items like that, you're like, oh, well, now I got to go to, the government. I got to go to my bank. I got to go to all these different websites or whatever and get this and that. It's never going to take you as long as you think it is. And as long as you're organized about it, you'll be fine. So I mean, I really just attacked it one item at a time. I'll tell people to make sure that you're, labeling everything properly. So, having a document called Scan One, it's not going to help you. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now. It's not going to help you in your grand journey of getting your paperwork together. So when you're doing those scans, make sure that you put a proper file name on it. So I know that seems like something that you shouldn't have to think about, but people don't do it, and it's going to create problems for them. So definitely label your documents properly. Make sure that you have a folder system, because that's going to help you too. Like, make sure that you have folders for your bank statements, for your T4s, T5s, invoices, your personal and business, of the above where it's applicable. Make sure that you have your folder structure. It's going to make Kyle's life easier. It's going to make your own life easier, because you're going to be able to find this stuff. And guess what? Chances are you'll need this stuff down the road again too. So if you already have this structure organized and ready on your computer or wherever, it's going to make your life easier in the future. I will say also try to back up everything to the cloud if you can, because that allows you to have it at your fingertips whenever you need it. If you're out snowboarding and Kyle hits you up and he says, hey, there's this one other thing that I need, for your deal. Chances are, if it's on Dropbox, you can just send it right there, so you can take these small steps to make your life easier in the long run with your paperwork.
And I think the tech is there, and I know, and the thing is, I think people don't think I think it's annoying. It's terribly annoying. I would love to give someone a high five in a mortgage and call it a day. Like, that would be the best day of my life. Like,
yeah.
But this isn't 2002, and there's a reason there was a global meltdown in the economy in 2008, because things were happening. That's over exaggerating, but were happening like that, right? And now it's just, I think, like, it sucks. But if you're a business owner, you get to take advantage of certain things, right? Mm-hmm. Different taxation practices and manipulating how some of the money comes in, and that's fine. Like, it's there for a reason. You're taking a risk more than your average bear, so you get to benefit in different ways. But the average bear, right, is easier to follow than you, because, and that's just the way it is. So the paperwork doubles, triples, right? But it's the fact, if you're just organized, and today everything's electronic, it can all be there. Right? Like, I just don't believe you can't find things that you need because I
Yeah.
always get them. So like, I
Yeah,
always
exactly.
get them. So
Yeah.
I know we can get them. And yeah, I think what's the most disappointing part is that, and I've had it, right? Maybe you felt this way too, but it's like, it's easier for an employee to get a mortgage from your company than it is
Mhm.
for you to get the mortgage from your company. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the thought process is definitely skewed, but I mean, it's just the way it is. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I think with entrepreneurs, we don't start businesses because we think it's going to be easy.
yeah, it's true.
So it's like when we're hit with challenges like this, I think, yeah, it might be a little bit more annoying in the beginning, but at the end of the day, we run our businesses because we want a certain lifestyle or because we're passionate, so on and so forth. And this is just another one of those little hurdles that you have to jump over to be able to do that. So I
Yeah,
really,
and the preparation too, right? It's like, if you're changing something, if you're changing your accounting practice, again, we talk about this in our blog post of for this subject, but changing your accounting practices can change your ability, right? If you're giving yourself a salary versus giving yourself dividends in a salary, if you switch, your account's going to tell you one thing, but I'm going to tell you another, right? Yes, the account's going to save you money, but it might put you back another year before you can buy that property or buy that house or not have to do an alternative deal, because there's different ways to get things done. So it's that consistency and the preparation, I think, that's absolutely key for people in yours, mine, not so much me, but your situation for sure. One of the other things to ask is, like, maybe I just said it, but what advice do you have for people who are in that self-employed area looking to buy? What do you think you've taken from this experience to say, okay, well, next time I'll do this, or I wish I had known that, or now that I know that, like, this is what I'll do.
I would say definitely plan ahead. Um, I know that's hard, especially for business owners. When you're so busy working in your business, it's hard to work on your business, let alone think about where you're going to be in 2 years. But I definitely think people should have, a 3-year plan and a 5-year plan, just with any aspect of their life, like regardless of whether it's buying a home or not. Um, just having a plan is going to help you, and especially if you are buying a home. Um, if you know that that's something you're going to want to do 3 years down the road and you can start planning today, you're going to be much further ahead, because someone can reach out to you and someone can reach out to Kyle and say, hey, listen, I'd like to buy a home in 3 years. This is where I'm at with my business. Where do I need to be at that point? And that can actually help you plan how your business is going to run, how it's going to be structured around this goal that you have. If that's what you want, having that extra time is going to help you out. So yeah, plan ahead, be organized. Like I said, have all your paperwork ready to go, your file structure, everything. Be flexible and patient. Um, there's always going to be more than one way to do things, and sometimes the first way doesn't work out. So if you're patient, you'll definitely get it eventually. It's like anything else. You might hit those roadblocks, but again, being an entrepreneur, we're used to that. We can overcome it. It's not a big deal. Just be patient, you'll get there.
Yeah, and I think that's, again, with a preparation standpoint, I guess when I'm looking at that, I would like to talk to. I mean, if we do a deal in 2 years, I will get paid in some point in 2 years, if and when that closes with me. But my whole thing is, you have the time. Coming back to that manipulate word again, it sounds so negative, but it's not. Like, if you're telling me that, if you can show how much money you actually make, how much revenues you bring in, and you're paying yourself significantly less, right? Can tell you the difference between, having to save a substantial amount more to use for an insanely big down payment to make your deal work, or maybe just pay yourself a little bit more for the next 2 years. And then after that, you own the house. No one really asks questions anymore. You just own it. So now pay yourself, a different way go more dividends or pay yourself less or whatever, right? But we need that time to manipulate, because you have the ability to. If you're on a salary, you don't manipulate your salary. It is
Mhm.
what it is. So
Yeah.
at least now we've got the time to make those adjustments, again, legally, appropriately, and all that stuff. But you can do that. And that's the part people don't like, is that plan ahead. But I mean, we'll get them there. We'll get them there. It'll be all right.
100%.
Anything else you want to add as we wrap this up?
I think that's it.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah, again, like I said, man, thanks for opening up to us and letting us dive into that transaction too, as much as we did. And just shedding light on being a young entrepreneur in Ottawa. I mean, some great shout out to some people who helped you up along the way, doing a fantastic job for us, and we really appreciate it. And hopefully there's something in here. There has to be something in here that people took away, especially the entrepreneurs of the world, as to some tidbits and whatnot. And yeah, looking forward to keep working together. And yeah, check out Hometown Ottawa. They got a great their Instagram page is great. He does some great graphic design too. So yeah, but we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Kyle. Take care.